Story 1, probably 5, 6, 7. I was a child, and that only made it a really good time. I didn't have to think about politics, society, and so on. I just woke up, went to school, played with friends, and that was it. Story 2. I have a memory of playing a computer game when I was 9 years old. My little sister told me to hurry so we could walk to Grandma's house for the New Year's Eve party. It was December 1999, and life was so good. Story 3. Right now at 40, I love my wife and daughter. I can pick them up and rub my face on them whenever I want. Story 4. My answer used to be 19, experiencing freedom for the first time, loving university, and starting to date my boyfriend. But now my answer is probably 33, married to that same man, 2 wonderful children, a job I love, and good friends. Living in a place I love. I am pretty happy. Story 5. Everything seemed to be going right. My life is not a disaster now, but I would love to get back there. Story 6. 6. It was the year I went to Disney World. I had my friends in the neighborhood, and my cousins always wanted to do something. It was before my mother got hurt, and my father came back. The world was still full of magic, and I felt unbelievably loved. Story 7. I'm hoping that when I am 25, it will be the happiest time of my life. I had a difficult childhood. Life has been really tough. I am now 24. I am happy, but I wish I were happier. So here is to making 25 the happiest age of my life. Story 8. Probably around age 17, life felt full of possibility, with fewer worries, and everything was new and exciting. Story 9. Now, age 34, I have a lot of stress and feel like half the time I am acting like a headless chicken. However, I have my husband and my kids, all of whom I waited a long time to have, and they really are the best part of my life. Story 1054. I quit my job and went back to my alma mater for a second undergraduate major. I was very happy to be back in the mountains of North Carolina. 18 months of bliss. Story 11. 29 or 30. I am 31 now. After a decade and a half, maybe more, of deep depression, I am doing pretty well. However, this year is not as great as the last couple. Story 12. A child under 12 above 5. Those were the best years. Leaps in gaming, great movies, and television shows that promote peace and happiness. Supportive peers regardless of race, media, or politics. Story 13. In 2001, at the age of 20, I was living at home with my dad, who worked from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. I had a part-time job and no bills to pay. My best friend was 21 and could buy us alcohol. I did not have a girlfriend. My dad and I would hang out in the mornings, driving around the city and doing nothing. I often found myself at the beach, golfing, or snowboarding. I played in a beer league softball team and a bowling league. Life was good. Story 14. For the most part, right now at age 45, my husband and I are getting ready to celebrate 20 years together soon. We both have great jobs, mostly working from home, no children, and barely any bills. We love our home and have the best pets you could ask for. Both sides of the family are in good health. Other than the difficult political situation in the United States, I do not have any complaints. Story 15. My son is 9 months old. His mouth smells like strawberries, and his cheeks are as soft as cream. His little fingers wrap around mine as he drifts off to sleep, and I know that now is the best time of my life. Story 16. I asked my mother this, and she said after 55 because she learned to stand up for herself and stop pleasing people. Story 17. I was having fun in college. My relationship was going well, and I had a positive outlook about the future. 10 years later, it has not really gone as I expected. Story 18. In 2017, my granddaughter was born. My love for her is immeasurable, and I found my purpose in life. Now there are 4 grandchildren in total, and I still feel a certain happiness I cannot explain. Story 19. People generally become happier as they grow older past middle age, so I have high hopes for the future. Story 20. Right around when Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 came out, I would have been about 15 or 16 years old. So many great long nights with friends in custom games. sweating in Call of Duty lobbies, and game battles matches. Story 21. I am naturally meant to be a father and family man. I learned that this was why I struggled so much in finding a purpose when I was younger. These are genuinely my happiest years lifting up my children. Story 22. I think right now, at 23, I am living my best life, focusing on myself. I go to the gym, look for a house, and enjoy my work. Life is good. Story 23. Happiness is not a time. It is just moments spread throughout your life. College was all right. It was nice to have some independence, to live for myself. I wish I had done more with the time I had. Obligations, caretaking, and being responsible for family members have been the focus of my life for the past 20 years. Story 24. Married to the love of my life, had a good career, a nice house, and a wonderful baby girl. 7 years later, I am divorced. My daughter repeats the hurtful things her mother says about me. My ex got the house, and at least I still have a career. Story 25, 11 to 13, for sure. I remember being on a swing. I was so happy I cried. All I did was swing. Nothing special, no one around. Just me. Alone. A swing. Perfection. Story 26, 40. Career. Home. Family. Travel. Most importantly, confident and not caring what others think about my life. The 40s are definitely freeing. Story 27. I have had a good life so far, with some romantic heartbreak thrown in, but now I am the happiest I have ever been. Life is good. Story 28. Right around July or August of 2021, when I was 38. That is the happiest I can remember myself being in a long time before that point and have not been since. Story 29. I was halfway across the globe in Australia when I turned 22 during the middle of my deployment. I had just been cheated on by one of my girlfriends back home and was depressed for 2 weeks but got over it quickly. We had numerous Liberty ports where we got off to explore and party all over Asia and Australia and were getting paid for it the entire time. I did not care about getting cheated on. I was having the time of my life with my friends. Story 30. There was a point about 8 to 9 years ago when the money was coming in, things looked promising, the partner was great, and the job was okay. Then suddenly, it all changed. Story 31. At 27, I was still in my 20s and in my most fit life. I had just separated from my abusive ex, whom I was with for almost 13 years. I had gotten a small apartment with my children. I finally tasted the freedom I had so desperately desired since I was a teenager. No one to tell me what to do, no more walking on eggshells, and no more living in fear. Story 32. Now age. Life has its difficulties, but my family is doing well. My oldest is about to get her bachelor's degree. My middle child is starting high school. My youngest is starting 4th grade. They are healthy, active, and happy. My wife is amazing. I could have more money, but who cares when all my needs and those of my family are met, and I get to spend all my time with them. Story 33. Not going to lie, I am in my mid-50s and as happy as I have ever been. But I am also sad for the future of the world and the opportunities available for my children. So I guess when I was between 12 and 15 was pretty amazing. Great television shows like The A-Team and Knight Rider, freedom to take off and go anywhere on my bike all day, no cell phones, and no worries about the future other than how awesome it would be. Story 34. Now, I am 69, retired, have 2 wonderful grandchildren, and time to go on vacations with my husband of 41 years. We are closer than ever now. Story 35. I think maybe right now. I am 62 years old. I retired early after a busy career. I got rid of everything and have been slow traveling full-time for the last 3 years with my husband. For the first time in my life, I am free to do whatever I want with my time. It is insanely great. Story 36. I have never truly been happy. I am in my 40s and have experienced all parts of my life, but I have never been completely happy or able to be myself 100%. I am not even sure what that looks like. Story 37. When our 3 children were under 10 years old, our family of 5 was flourishing. It felt as if all my dreams and hopes had come true. Story 38. I was in the best shape of my life and finally making good money. If I could go back, 27 is where I would want to be. Story 39. In 6th grade, I was popular and had many friends. Then I got a giant back brace that I had to wear all the time, and people started to avoid me after that. Story 40. From the years 8 to 11, I was living the dream. I had lots of toys and DVDs that I loved. My sister loved playing with our toys, and we enjoyed Barbie movies. After 11, things were still good, but my sister did not play as much, and I was pressured into making donations more often. Story 41. I would say 1 or 2 years old, completely unaware of everything, not even knowing you are unaware. It is great. Story 42. Year 1 and 2. I have a cousin baby sister now, and I get so jealous. She just sleeps, wakes up, eats, sleeps, and repeats. God, why can't I have this life anymore? Story 43. Probably when I was 11 or 12, I was in 8th grade and went on a school trip for the first time with my friends. At that age, I did not have to worry about anyone or anything, but the real struggle started after that. I really missed those days. Story 44. Whatever age I was during coronavirus disease 2019, I was home with no nonsense and delivery services for everything. I was very happy. Story 45. I am 34 years old, almost 36 now. I had a job I really enjoyed with great colleagues and work that made me feel accomplished. I was dating someone I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. My social life was vibrant, and I was re-engaging with hobbies I had ignored for some time. Years after buying a house, my financial anxiety was finally leveling out. I felt optimistic about the future. I went on 2 amazing vacations, and those memories will stay with me forever. At 35, I changed jobs to try something new, only to find the work both boring and complicated, and my team was not supportive. My ex-girlfriend and I broke up due to irreconcilable differences, and some days I still think about how good we had it. My social life started to dwindle. My mental health suffered and has not fully recovered. My financial anxiety remains minimal, but my optimism for the future is gone. Story 46. I did not have anything stressing me out and was very unaware of how toxic my family was. I had yet to meet some people in life who would really hurt me. I also have a memory of telling my grandparents, I do not want to turn 7. I love being 6. It must have been a really happy time if I loved it that much. Story 47. Probably in my early 30s, happily married, very involved with my children, had friends and hobbies, and was financially stable. Unfortunately, I became chronically ill in my late 30s, so my quality of life is not great now. Story 48. In 2017, I was single, loved my part-time job, attended school learning something new, made great strength gains in the gym, and was hopeful about the future. I am now 29, have lost all hope, and am surrounded by nonsense. Story 49. 22 years old. Old enough to live on my own, make my own money, live an adult life, physically fit with little to no effort or money, clear skin, and still young enough to feel like I have many career opportunities and choices. All my friends were as active and free as I was, with no kids or marriage. Most importantly, I was young enough to still think my parents were decent people. I am now 35 and realize everything I thought I knew about my parents was absolutely wrong. Story 50. In my late 20s before my first marriage, I moved from Pennsylvania to California. I had a decent paycheck to afford my own apartment, a reliable car, a great group of friends, and spent my free time rock climbing. Basically, I had a lot of fun with minimal stress or major responsibilities. Story 51. Probably 15 to 16 if I had to choose. I'm really happy now at 30, but there is so much more responsibility, and I have gone through the most difficult things of my life in the past 2 years. I am just better at handling it now. Story 52. 13 to 14. It was the release of the initial World of Warcraft. I was in middle school just before high school, and my friends and I devoted our entire lives to it. I swear I have never had so much fun in my life. I did not worry about a job or girls. I just focused on questing with my friends and defeating the next raid boss. I am lucky I was my age when it came out. It was a perfect balance of maturity and responsibility. I imagine if I had been in high school when it was released, World of Warcraft might have ruined my grades, and I would not have gotten into the college I did or be where I am today. But those were good times. Story 53. Actually, 1967 was a really fun time. College freedom. A baby, hippie stage with peace as a motto, and awakening to many new adventures. Story 54. Right now, at 37, I still have stress and many responsibilities because I am mid-career and raising a family. I had a tumultuous childhood, but I am more at peace with my past, present, and mental health than ever before. Some days are difficult, but I really enjoy being alive and appreciating what I have in my life. Story 55. I cannot recall the taste of food, nor the sound of water, nor the touch of grass. I am naked in the dark. Story 56. Honestly, it's the gap between 26 and 32. I had to believe I was someone's first and only choice for the first time in my life, but reality hit me hard, and now I know better. I want to harm myself every day, but at least I know better now, right? We are supposed to feel better as time goes on, but that seems unfair, not gonna lie. Story 57. Probably at birth, since I was not aware of anything. Consciously, 9 years old in 3rd grade. My only pain was dealing with a girl I was not attracted to constantly staring at me in class. I remember screaming back at her with my eyes to stop staring at me. That is the only hardship I remember at that age, and the difficulties increased as I got older. Story 58. I think from the day I was born until I was 8 years old, I was fine. Then I became a hypochondriac and started worrying about everything, and my anxiety has only gotten worse as I get older. Story 59. Right before COVID-19, when I was living with my girlfriend in another city, it was a double-edged sword. My inability to work in that country and the ticking clock of my visa weighed heavily on me toward the end and was why we broke up. Story 60. Even with all that is wrong in this world and my extra lumps and bumps, it is now, age 38, married 8 years with 3 small children. Story 61. Now in my mid-30s, I have finally overcome mental health issues that have affected me my entire life. I am not perfect or cured, but for the first time since before I was a teenager, I am actually doing well. Story 62. 7 to 13. Then got jaded and had to work. Had some great moments, usually when traveling or partying. Happy again now with kids, but money and life obstacles get in the way. Story 63. Teenager. Young enough to not have many responsibilities, but old enough to run around with friends. Times were simple back then. Story 64. I don't think I have a specific age when I was the happiest. I believe every stage of my life had its peaks. For example, from ages 7 to 12 in school, 13 to 15 in high school, and age 18 was great. From 23 to the present, life has been very good as well. Life is good and has its ups and downs. Story 65. 29. My current age. I have a wonderful husband, 2 children aged 6 and 3, and our very own home sitting on a small lake covered in lily pads with nature all around. I feel blessed and grateful every day. The small happy things really do add up. Story 66. The day I turned 18, I received my first annuity check for $40,000. For the next 5 years, I received a check every month, and every year on my birthday, I received $40,000. Does money buy happiness? Yes, when you are 18. Story 67. Sorry, I cannot understand the word happiest. The best I can suggest is least miserable, probably around age 3. Story 68. I would say younger, but it means less freedom. 14 just hits the sweet spot. Plus it was my age when the local music scene had its boom. All I needed to care about were school requirements. No bills. No simultaneous problems. Life was good. But hey, who knows? The later years might offer something better. Story 69. I think I am at that age now, 40. I can do whatever, however, whomever, whenever I want. Nobody is checking on me. This is the life I manifested for when the time came after my mother passed, so I could go no contact with every single person in my family. Story 70. Ages 16 to 18 were good times. Currently, I am 38, experiencing rough times. That said, I am happy now and have only had maybe 2 to 3 really awful years to live through. Story 71. Probably 3 to 4 years old, before my parents divorced, everything felt like it was supposed to be. After the divorce, my mom moved out with me, and suddenly everything felt weird and out of place. As an adult, I think I was 29 or 30, just after the coronavirus pandemic hit. We had just bought a house and did not have children yet, so we had a lot of free time for ourselves. Story 72. I do not know. I used to be very scared of aging, but things just keep getting better. Why did I not stop worrying so much sooner? Story 73. 60s. Retired. Children are raised and self-sufficient. Receive pension every month. In good health. Life is good. Story 74. I'm just 16. But I think that something between 58 and 65 will be cool, especially if I had a house on a high hill, an old wife just like me, and of course a little farm. That sounds so cool. Story 75. Right now, I have a beautiful, loving wife and 2 amazing kids. One 2 years old and the other 2 months. I am really living the dream these past few years. Story 76. I honestly cannot think of one. Childhood was difficult, I struggled in early adulthood, and now I am just working and resting. Story 77. Certainly between 11 and 15. With some extra income, it would be the dream years if I could earn some additional money. Story 78. Probably now. At 46, I know who I am, what I want, and I know my body better than ever. I know who I want in my life. I know my beliefs and values. They say life starts at 40. Maybe the realization of who you are is what it means. Story 79. Ages 13 to 15. I didn't have to work. School wasn't so intense that I had to slave over homework to do well. I had hobbies that interested me enough to spend hours on because I wanted to, not because it was the only time I could do them. Puberty was kicking in, girls were receptive, and flirting and intimacy felt so thrilling it could completely engulf my mind. I hadn't gotten into drinking or drug use yet. Smartphones weren't a thing, and the internet still wasn't common in homes, so I wasn't distracted by social media or any of that nonsense. It was just simple, innocent, carefree living. It was the best. Story 80. Probably 11. I began my 6th grade year and was still capable of making new friends and having a wild, active imagination. I was not concerned with relationships much yet. It seemed like a lot of my best memories were around the 2008 to 2009 stretch. Barack Obama being elected, a pretty blizzard that hit Ohio in early 2009 that kept me out of school for almost 3 weeks, and before my parents were influenced by Fox News. Story 81. Probably at 32 years old. I am 34 right now. Both parents and all but one grandparent passed away, all in less than 1.5 years. I am dealing with a lot of inner emotions, confusion, frustration, and outer chaos. I know it is circumstantial, but still, what the heck? Story 82. Up until my 30s, I was very willing to jump test landmines. I think 37 was the best one around the sun. Story 83. Now, I think. I had an emotionally difficult childhood. I didn't have much control, and love felt conditional. I didn't know how to be proud of myself because everything I did was treated as second-rate and never good enough. I had little autonomy except in pre-approved areas, and I had to constrain my thinking to survive that environment. I was constantly vomiting, and as an adult, I realized it was from anxiety and stress. I often felt like I didn't understand anything, and asking questions was emotionally risky. The one good thing was that money wasn't an issue, but that also caused anxiety for other reasons, like being judged by how much you could earn or what you spent it on. As an adult, I love my autonomy of thought and choice. The people who controlled me cannot do that as much anymore. I can make decisions without feeling guilty, well, a work in progress, or worrying about not being allowed. I can choose my friends and who I date. I enjoy thinking and expanding my mind very much. My world is much bigger. I have made friends who like me for who I am. I learned to be proud of my work even if certain people don't care or understand. I learned to be content even if I don't do things perfectly, and to be kinder to myself for not being perfect. I learned to be happy for others who are more skilled or accomplished than me without comparing myself in a mean way or making myself feel stupid. I did all this despite how I was parented and how anxious and robotic it made me, and what I believed about my worth. I struggled with relationship issues and being naive and desperate, but one relationship survived, and we have built something strong. I have a good career, not paid incredibly much, but I have my own money, and I believe in the value of my work. Outside of high school, where social life was hard for me and the bullying and pressure were terrible, I have found my tribe. I worked, learned, and have been lucky to meet good people who encouraged me despite having a very discouraging and fractured family. These are genuine connections, not based on money or connections or things like that. It is precious to me. Life isn't perfect. I still live with the consequences of that childhood. But where I am now feels much less scary than when I was a child. Feeling lost, unlovable, perpetually confused and anxious, and very limited. Story 84. Probably when I was 5 or 6 years old. Life was good. My mother was alive and my brother and I were friends. It was not too long after that when everything went wrong, so I have really fond memories of my early childhood. It honestly seems magical in comparison to what was to come next. It has been a rough ride ever since. Story 85, probably now mid-40s. I am planning on next year being an improvement on this one too. If things are going to plan, life should get better as you go along. If things are not getting better, either you do not or did not have a plan, or you have or had a weak plan. Story 86. At 13, all I did was play RuneScape. Now at 33, I find happiness in learning new hobbies and looking on the bright side of everything. Story 87. I am 30 years old now. I think 22 and 23 were great. I got into a job I loved, created community, and was constantly smiling. People everywhere would comment on my smile. I have not experienced that in years, and I miss it. I think life was simpler then, and maybe I was more naive. Those were also the years I lived with my parents during a difficult divorce. Soon after, I became nomadic and loved the lifestyle. I do not know, life was pretty good. Story 88. At 24, disabling illness at 26, and severe depression from 20 to 23. I really believed I had everything figured out. I earned my Juris Doctor degree, got married, and started a promising career. Story 89. I didn't have a happy childhood. I grew up watching my dad beat my mom and me constantly until I was 10. When I was 11, my mom became paralyzed, so I had to take care of her regularly. At the same time, my eldest cousin, who was 22 then, started manipulating me into giving him money and was sexually assaulting me as well. I am going to be 20 now. I have moved out and live in a different country, but I am still not happy. I do have happy moments here sometimes. They are rare, but they happen. This must be the happiest I have felt. Story 90. 24 to 25, I loved my job. I was working out, feeling good, loved my job, and everyone loved me except the assistant store manager. We despised each other. Then the recession came and everything went badly. 31 to 32, the same scenario as above with different circumstances, but ultimately the same. Story 91. I am 52 years old and have experienced a lot of trauma and sadness since I was a young child. The only time I felt free from all of that was between the ages of 21 and 26, during the 1990s. Story 92. As a child, obviously. Honestly, for me, happiness has been gradually declining every few years. There have not been any ups and downs. Hopefully, this is changing soon because that trend is depressing. Story 93. 19 to 22 years old. I was away at college and away from my abusive mother. I was finally able to truly be myself in a safe place for the very first time in my life. Story 94. 19, sophomore year of college. Just the sweet spot of independence, settling into college life, and not worrying about the future. Story 95. I am 35 years old now, and strangely, I think differently. I have built the relationships I wanted and have a good family, friend, and hobby community. My job now feels more meaningful, and my hobbies have stood the test of time. Story 96. Nowish. Childhood was reasonably happy, but then my teenage years were full of depression and self-loathing. My 20s and 30s were filled with a deep and abiding hatred for the world and almost everyone in it. In my 40s, I rediscovered philosophy, got my head on straight, started addressing my issues, and now in my 50s, I finally feel like a calm, content, stable, reasonably well-adjusted adult. Story 97. Before age 24 was difficult. From 24 to 29 was a great time for me for various reasons. Then from 30 to 36 was very challenging. Afterwards, I met my wife and have been happy since. Story 98. I had a girlfriend who had a perfect body and wanted sex all the time. I had a decent job and did not need to worry too much about money. I was able to meet all my responsibilities, had a lot of time for fun, and enough disposable income. I should have stayed in that loop, repeating that year forever. Story 99. Met the love of my life. Now engaged since last August of 2024. We adopted 2 little cockatiels a couple of years ago, and now we are about to rent a house. Not much, but it is something. Looking forward to our marriage ceremony next year. Story 100. Now, at almost 30, married to my favorite person with a baby on the way. We own a house in a beautiful place, and we have a very good dog. Story 101. 3 answers to this. At age 4, I met my best friend, and we are still best friends almost 3 decades later. At age 17, I got into the university of my choice and was in arguably the best physical and mental health I had ever been in. At age 31, I bought a house by myself and then got my dream car to complete it. Story 102. I was sitting in my cubicle today, and I realized that ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before. That means that every single day you see me is the worst day of my life. Story 103. When I was about 15, life had its highs and lows. I was depressed, but I had many friends to talk to, binge-watched TV shows, and drew all the time. Now, I am much more depressed with few friends and mental health problems. I wish I could turn back time. Story 104. 17 to 18. I missed this time when all my friends were still together, when I met my first true love, and when every friend was still alive. Over half are deceased. Story 105. Whatever age I was when I was able to blow up firecrackers in the sandbox with army men on top of them, swimming all summer, eating popsicles, playing turn into anything, which the name implies how the game goes, jumping off the playhouse into the pool. I don't remember specifically when that was, but it holds a very special place in my heart. Story 106. If I had to genuinely think about it, I would have to say, after everything, right here, right now, age 44. Story 107. 17 to 18. I missed this time when all my friends were still together, when I met my first true love, and when every friend was still alive. Over half are dead. Story 108. I think ages 12 to 17. The dreams, the video games. School was not stressful. I did not have a smartphone. Honestly, the no smartphone part was probably the biggest factor. Story 109. The ages 19 to 21 were pretty fun. I stopped using hard drugs and was blissfully ignorant of the incoming traumas. My father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer the day after I turned 21, and I fell into a toxic relationship that robbed me of my innocence around the same time. I am sure I will have another happier time later, however. Story 110. My 40s, continuing into my 50s. I retired from the military, learned to manage my post-traumatic stress disorder, started my second career, began earning money, and watched my children grow into amazing adults. My body and mind are less broken than before. I missed a lot that I cannot make up, but I give every day my all and am surrounded by people I love and who love me. Story 111. I am 29, turning 30 in 3 months. I think I am the happiest I have ever been. It has been a really rough couple of years, but my marriage feels stronger than ever before. We have 2 beautiful children who are healthy and happy. My career is on a good trajectory, and I hope it only keeps getting better. Story 112. Around ages 20 to 22, I was probably at my best. I am 31 now. I had a really close group of friends in college and a lot of hope for the future. Since then, I have not been able to match the sense of community I once had. Especially in the past couple of years, I feel like I am stuck in the wrong place. Story 113. Probably 14 to 15. 24 may be a close second. At the same time, I am not sure I have ever been truly happy. I guess there were just times when life was less difficult. Story 114. Not going to lie, in 2011, when I was 14 to 15 years old, I had the biggest crush on a beautiful sweetheart, but was too scared to do anything about it despite the signs from her. I still felt like I was on cloud nine most of the time. The connections were nice, and I was enjoying myself the most. Nothing compares to that year. Story 115. At 18, in my prime, I had just graduated high school and was entering my first year of university. It was the golden age of alternative and hip-hop music. Bill Clinton was president, the economy was strong, and for the most part, everyone was hopeful. Story 116. Right now, honestly, I am at the top of my career, financially stable. My kids are all teenagers, fun to be around, and I enjoy watching them grow to their potential. The only downside is that I can no longer throw the football over 50 yards like I used to, and I could lose 10 to 15 pounds. However, I am still in my 40s and can keep up with my teenage boys as we play sports together. Life is good. Story 117. Probably sometime in elementary school, I really loved learning. I remember delivering Christmas cards around the school and attending the Scholastic Book Fair, thinking, this is amazing. Story 118. I'd probably have to say 19. I had recently graduated high school, and I was told I would never complete it. But I was free. I was allowed to live, and then everything went off the rails after that. Story 119. 1-year-old. My time in the womb was amazing and comfortable. Ever since I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, it has been downhill from there. Story 120. I'm in that period, but I have a very specific moment from about 2 years ago. My first son was in the bath, and I was sitting just outside. I think I laughed or made a little loud noise that echoed off the walls. He liked that, so he made a loud noise himself and giggled. I did it again, and we giggled together. It went back and forth like that for another minute. I remember thinking, I hope I never forget this. Then the other day, I was putting him to bed, lying on the floor. It was dark and quiet, and I farted. In his almost 3-year-old voice, he said, "Who farted?" I laughed and said, "Me." He laughed, I laughed, and we just had a good laugh together. I know kids aren't for everyone, but those moments were pure happiness for me. I look forward to more of these with my second son. Story 121. I am a happy person. I am blessed in that way. I have a good life. I am healthy and active. And I have wonderful children and grandchildren. My mother and sisters are alive. I just retired, but I had a fulfilling job. I have many friends who are there for me. Still, I was happiest during the 30 years I was married. There were some tough times, but overall it was amazing. I lost him 10 years ago to cancer, and I still miss him and the life we had. I think about him every day. Story 122. I joke about it, but unironically think I peaked at 10 years old, 5th grade in 2010. Things have never felt the same. Story 123. Take me back to age 8 or 9 or 26. I felt so free at age 8 or 9, just going to school, riding my bike along the boardwalk, and playing video games with my family. At 26, my husband and I started dating, and everything was so magical until COVID-19 and all the challenges that preceded it kind of stripped the magic out of living a little bit. I also had some setbacks in my career, but I am in a much better place now. The years following were steadily happy, but always accompanied by a deep-seated fear that doom was around the corner. It was strange. I felt sad for the world, yet I still saw beauty in everyday things. Sometimes it made me want to tear my hair out, and other times I just shut down and went on autopilot. I feel like I am only starting to truly come out of my depression from that period, so I am looking forward to age 33. I will not let the magic die, no matter how many shadows I am exposed to. Story 124. At 19, I had enough freedom to do what I wanted, but I was still young enough not to have to worry about things. Now I am 26. Life is miserable, and I dread every day waiting for whatever Donald Trump is going to do next. Story 125. Probably around 7 or 8, I liked the class I was in. My parents had not split yet. They were right to, but it affected me either way, and I had not made any of the worst mistakes yet. Story 126. I would say I was the happiest around 9 or 10 years old when I was in the 4th grade. We had recently moved into a new area in Orange, California, and it was the best move of my life. Story 127. From June 26th to 28th, the experience was perfect. My career was easy and stress-free. The children were younger and my parents were healthy. Life was good. Story 128. 26 to 27. Newly married, new home, great job, looked great, baby daughter. All our relatives were alive, and I was completely and blissfully ignorant of politics. Story 129. I was in college, a university athlete in great shape and receiving much attention from the women at school. It was also the year before my father died. After his death, I was never able to be truly happy again. Story 130. Honestly, between 5 and 10 years ago, the money was rolling in. We were very busy, life was fun and adventurous, and we were healthy. Then the virus hit and changed everyone's life forever. Business suffered. Expenses increased. Health deteriorated. We have not really recovered. Exhaustion, fatigue, muscle pain, memory problems, insomnia, and breathing difficulties followed. We have lost people. It is hard to focus and function. Story 131. When I was probably 5 years old, I became a sentient being. I did not worry about school, played outside with my friends all day, and had no need to clean or cook for myself. We have all been through it. Story 132. 24 years old was a good year. I made well above average money for my age doing something I liked. I lived in a different city for half the year with all expenses paid and saved several $10,000 in those 6 months. I had a good group of friends who would visit me, a steady girlfriend, and I was in the best shape of my 20s. Many years since have been close, but I look fondly back on that year. I have no interest in reliving anything before 21. Story 133. Probably 14 for me. Birth to 14 was tough, but things got much worse after 14. I often think about my younger self and wish I could reach out, put things in his head, and guide him in the right direction so I wouldn't be where I am today. Story 134. Honestly, whatever age I currently am, if I were to think my happiest years are in the past, that feels pretty depressing to me. Currently, I am feeling kind of down due to a lot of stress in my life right now. However, that is temporary, and overall, my 30s have been my happiest and most content years so far. Story 135. Early 40s. A couple of years after divorce from my first husband, I realized I was going to be happy on my own. I made new friends and enjoyed my freedom so much. Story 136. I had so much fun. The world was okay around me in the 1990s, and I remember so much excitement and joy. Story 137. During the pandemic, the shutdown allowed me to spend all my time with my family. It was like a 1.5-year family vacation. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.